I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
Man, that is
On this
that
sad
is a
clown.
sad clown.
Proud of my address.
Dude, that's pretty good.
This is The Gloom, bringing you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha Packs, exploring their F3 experiences and finding those sticky elements that create the glue in the gloom.
Awesome. All right, this one a lot of people have been waiting for. This is the official Burpee King of the South. I don't know if that's his name or not, but actually one of the guys that I knew before F3, and he actually knew me when I was pursuing my failed wellness business. I don't know if guys remember that story, but also a guy that is just passionate about what we're trying to do within F3, and that shows up in his leadership and any conversation you have with him. And I got to work out with this guy this morning. So, and man, he just looks good for being in the respect crowd. So, Duracell, good to see you, man. Why don't you start us off with sort of where, who aged you? What was your first workout like? Where was it at? Was it difficult? All those juicy details.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Plague. Really appreciate it. Long time listener, first time caller, I would call it. So yeah, I enjoy it. But yeah, so Animal House EH'd me, and we've been friends longer than most of our packs have been alive. Probably 43 years. We met in second grade, and we've kind of been through all of the life experiences together. All the list of things you shouldn't do growing up. You had to do it once to figure out you shouldn't do that. We did a lot of those together. And then he's brought me into a lot of positive things too. He first talked me into doing marathons. I still hate running. He talked me into running 2 miles. I didn't want to go. I was pretty sure I was wearing just mowing shoes because they were athletic shoes at one time. Didn't want to do 2 miles. Sucked, hated it. He should be in sales. He somehow talked me into doing a marathon by the end of it. So we come back, sign up for a marathon. So I've done 3 marathons thanks to Animal House, and he EH'd me and brought me out. Took a while because I was doing my own thing, just working out in the basement, was having some results. So I was like, why change it? I didn't realize what I didn't have and doing things with other people. So yeah, my first workout was a Murph at Titan Alley it was a Labor Day. So my 2 years coming up, I think it was September 6th of 2021.
Nice.
And I did think it was challenging. Oddly enough, so the 1 mile run at the beginning and the end murdered me. I'd been doing P90X, so like the push-ups and I did all 100 pull-ups, could easily do the pull-ups, and thought, this is all the push-ups and pull-ups you do? And then, yeah, I could not make it. That run just absolutely murdered me. I tried not to let it show. Just your first post, you don't know that it's not really that's fine if you can't make it.
No.
But yeah, so I thought it was challenging. I liked seeing people. I work from home, so with COVID, I'd been living just a totally isolated life. So it's one of my first time I could remember seeing more than one person and actually talking to them. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
How about the name Duracell? How did we land on that?
I know Swiper gave it to me, which is no surprise if you post in Sarpy. It's either Swiper or Knobs, and the best workouts ever are when Swiper and Knobs are both there and they're arguing over the name. It's, oh man, if you can get next to one of those guys, especially Knobs, you can hear Knobs is talking under his breath, and it's the funniest stuff you've ever heard in your life. G-String and I will physically fight to be next to Knobs during a naming. No, it's a blast. But where I think it came from was, I've narrowed it down to like 3 things. One was I was trying to do, before joining F3, I was trying to get to 365 days of 1,000 calories on my watch. And I was over 300. and I got a hernia really bad. My intestines were popping out through my ab wall. And for a couple weeks, I would literally have to hold it in
Oh wow.
while I was exercising. And so when I went and got surgery, the guy like called me a dumbass. Literally called me a dumbass. He's like, "Were you exercising for like a while after you had this?" I was like, "Yeah." He called me a dumbass, but I probably needed it. But so there was that, and then I said I do have a tough time sitting still. And then someone was kind of, before it started, I showed up early, and everybody just kind of milling around. I don't know how many Murphs they did. That was the first time it was Labor Day, so probably more than one, maybe even three. I showed up for one, and someone was like, "Oh, are you nervous?" And I was like, "No, man, I'm really excited about it." And someone was chirping. I can't remember. Like, "We'll see what you say about that in a little bit." So yeah, I made it through. I did the part that was hard for most people, which is the pull-ups. But yeah, the running to me was a wake-up call, because I hadn't ran 10 feet in years. I'd done marathons with Animal House. We did one like in 2015. And I said, "I'm never doing this again," and I've kept my word. He did not. He kept doing them.
Yeah.
But
and then he got his foot injury, right?
Yeah. So yeah, but he's been a blessing to me to get me out into this, and to try some other things. He's inspired me to do a lot of physical things that I guess maybe I'm easily influenced. So yeah, pretty much all the challenges we have is like, okay, sounds good, and I don't really think about it, and then I get committed to doing these crazy things. So
Well, like the burpee challenge, right? I mean, I think I do want to get your thoughts on, so from a fitness perspective, right? I think you've continued to do. I think you've done Apex, right, a few times. And the burpee challenge. I mean, touch on those items. How have those helped just with fitness for you?
Yeah, Apex to me is one of my favorite things about F3, because I'm a goal oriented person, just because I don't know, like a lot of guys in F3, we're all or none. We're maybe the worst moderators of all men. That's why we're out there 4:45 in the morning or whatever.
Yeah.
Just that's what I've observed from the group, myself included. So I have to have a goal, otherwise if I fall off the rails, I mean, it's going off in a hurry. So that Apex has really helped me with my goals. So I have goals of what I want to do with burpees. The two big ones for me right now are the push-ups, the T-Merkins, and then I want to get to 100 T-Merkins and 50 leg tucks.
Okay.
That's my goal. I don't know if I ever get there, but I'm big into I love that one because I like the mental side of physical activity. That's very intriguing to me. So I do. Last year, I did won the year of the Merkins, but I mean, it almost makes me mad though, because there's way better athletes out there than me. I consider myself a very average athlete.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm intrigued by the mental part, because before it starts, I'm probably, maybe the only one who convinces myself that I'm going to do 100 before it starts. So yeah, I would love us to look at that more as, as a group, as F3, like remove your mental limitations and see what happens.
Yeah. Where does that mindset come from for you? Is that something you were taught growing up, or just something you kind of picked up over the years?
Maybe probably my dad. My dad was a baseball coach for 40 years and continues to be a good influence on me. I had great parents, very active parents. To this day, I get a message from my parents every day. Mm-hmm. I send them one back. With his coaching, to me, it's something that I've picked up on, and just, I've tried little things like I'm not really a reader, but I watch a lot of YouTube videos.
Oh, yeah.
And some of the things I've done, like, breathing, working on your breathing, whether you're doing burpees or Merkins or whatever. But I'll try these things and think, oh, geez, I did improve. And with the breathing was a lot.
Yeah.
like focusing on breathing. But then you wonder, like, did you improve because of the breathing, or did you improve because you expected to do better?
Right.
And they're both there, so you
Yeah.
can't prove it.
No.
You just know you improved.
Yeah.
But no, I would love to have some tests done, but
Yeah, that's fascinating. I think too, like I know the mental aspect of being next to a group of guys versus just being like by myself. You know, I've noticed like I can run further if I'm having a conversation with somebody, and I can, you know, I can do burpees faster. I've certainly done a lot of burpees on my own, but there's a lot of mental work that it takes to just push through that. You know, it is a fascinating thing.
yeah. I would love to for the Apex. This would be fun. You know, sometimes you go and then before any of those exercises, someone says like, "Well, what's a good number?"
Yeah.
You know, I think in the Apex, like I think probably 60 is a good number for the Merkins. You know, what if they said 120? Just totally pull a guy's leg. What would happen though?
Yeah.
Would a guy knock out 80, 90, 100 because he thought most people are doing 120? Like, I don't know. I'm really intrigued by it.
Yeah.
So that's something I try to convince myself that I can do more than I, you know, if I was in Vegas and was going to bet actual money on it, I wouldn't bet that number. But
Yeah.
it's intriguing though. Try it sometime. Like, just convince yourself, like fully convince yourself that you're going to do way more than you're used to doing, and see what happens.
Yeah. I love it. I want to get your thoughts too. I mean, from a first F perspective, what have you seen just sort of, you know, as you age, right? Because I think you sort of, I mean, to me, you're like the invisible man, right? You've been able to age seamlessly, and you are. It seems like you're getting healthier as you know, or you're able to do more as you've gotten older. I mean, what's been the secret, or how has F3 helped, or has it played a role in any of that?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely more well-rounded than I've ever been and more consistent. Because yeah, I mentioned being all or none. So I would do these programs. Yeah, I've done like P90X, Insanity, a bunch of those over and over. But I would not have been as consistent, you know, for 2 years. That's as longest I've been. But being forced to do things like running, like didn't like to do. You know, for a long time I went to the gym and you would do your favorite stuff over and over and over. And now it's like you're doing whatever that guy says you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, I truly love that about it. That now you could, you know, if someone said, "Hey, do you want to go work out?" or if you go down range, and right when I started after, I'd been real concerned about what are you going to do. That I really don't care anymore, unless it's run faster than 8-minute mile pace, because I can't do that for more than a couple hundred yards. You know, like I'm not a good runner at all. But I think a couple of things keep me going. That's yeah, the variety is great for me. But to be honest, at my age, it's a kind of a morbid fear of the point of no return. That someday, you know, I like to get after it. Someday I won't be able to do that. And when I go to things that are age appropriate for me, like seeing high school friends, like I get kind of almost depressed, man. Like, so I'll try to EH guys, but there's a few that I thought, geez, I'm gonna make sure like KOA or Sticks or one of these medical guys couldn't show up, because dude, we might have a problem with this guy after it. But yeah, for me, it's just like looking at people and thinking like, how does that happen? You know, and some of it, you know, it is genetic or an illness, but then when it's life choices, man, that I have a fear of letting my own life choices get in the way of continuing to do what I like to do, and you know, play sports with my kids. And so yeah, kind of morbid fear pushes me.
Yeah, I was listening to a different podcaster on my drive home this morning, and this guy was talking about, he actually has on his desktop a sort of countdown to, like, you know, his, you know, like when he will be 75 or whatever the life expectancy is. And I thought, well, that's one way to do it. I don't know that I want to, you know, have that reminder all the time, but yeah, it's kind of interesting. So tell me too, because I do think, you know, something that I definitely appreciate about you is just the variety that you mentioned, and we'll talk a little bit about leadership, and obviously you led the steel mill, but from a fitness perspective, it feels like you're finding a lot of variety within F3, and I see you even coming up with your own, the murder bunny foo or this running rucking burpee mile. So you feel like you've got access to a lot of options to be well-rounded.
Yeah, I do. I guess the beautiful thing about this, well, I get bored easy, so I'm always looking to change something. But the beautiful thing about this, like with queuing, I heard you mention the word Q4 on previous podcasts, and I probably still have it, even though I've been doing it 2 years. I love it just because I'll get some idea in my head, and these knuckleheads who show up at 5:15 in the morning, they'll do it with you.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love that no one ever says a word, they just do it. So I like to try things, and then you have guinea pigs to try it with you. But yeah, I'll never queue anything I haven't done on my own. Benefit of working from home. So if I get called on unexpectedly on a conference call, like half the time I'm out of breath because I'll be doing something stupid, like trying to make up a new burpee or whatever. But yeah, I try all those things on my own. So I love seeing what other people came up with. That wheelbarrow merkin thing today was great. That was cool.
Yeah.
I've always liked to do in my own fitness when I was working out on my own. Like that P90X is a great example. You get real bored if you do that because you're doing the same thing over and over. So modify to me means you got pretty good at it. How can you make it harder?
Make it harder, yeah.
So that's what I try to take to my cues. Take an exercise and see how you can make it harder. Yeah, I love coming up with the burpee, different variations of burpee, or the other one I got going through my head. And when I get it all together, I'm going to have to get on the cue schedule somewhere is shake weight. Remember the shake weight?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I want to either do that with a coupon or weights.
Yeah. I feel like Slow Pitch and Tater one time led a workout and they brought a shake weight. Like somebody had a shake weight.
Dang it, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
This won't actually use a shake weight. It'll just be, I think you can make it real challenging though. I've tried it. I just don't have enough to make it a full workout. Maybe like one little round or a pre-thing or something.
Sure. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. Just your, passion and engagement for the first half. And, I'm curious your thoughts as you have thought about, your relationship with Animal House over time and just getting to know some of the guys in F3. What's the second F fellowship piece been like for you in the last couple of years?
Yeah, lifesaver. I mentioned I work from home. I used to see people all the time. Then I got a different job that I was supposed to travel more than I wanted to. And then my transition to this department was literally held because of COVID. It was held up. I got offered the job. Yes, you're going there. And there's like, wait, we don't know what we're doing right now. Nobody did. So you can't start here. And then they figured out like, oh, you don't need to travel. You can do all this through calls. So now we never go anywhere. It's rare for me to go, which I didn't want to travel that much. But I realized after a while, like not seeing people, I'm not built that way. I need some kind of social interaction. So before F3, I'd go to the store for one thing that I didn't really need and would probably creep people out. I would talk to any stranger who walked by. The checker, I would go to a checkout lane where someone was working there and they had to talk to me, So the second F for me has been a game changer. I've mentioned this before to people, but I considered Animal House my only in-person friend before I started F3. But then the reality is we were only doing something in person like once every 6 months. Mm-hmm. I really had no friends like in person. There's guys that would text funny little jokes to or whatever every day, but I didn't have any in-person friends. Now, if you think about, your F3 friends that you do consider lifelong friends, and would do anything for, and they would do anything for you, that I've never tried to write it out, but it's, well over 100.
Yeah.
It's a bunch.
Yeah.
So very thankful.
That's awesome. How do you feel like you were able to build relationships as you joined the group? Was it pretty simple, just going to coffee, asking questions, or what was your experience with that?
It's I kind of started with the people who would push each other back and like push you. You know, for me, that anybody's willing to get after it, I kind of gravitate towards them. Um, Unfortunately, I can't go to coffee because I have young kids, and my wife likes to leave for work at 7. So I typically go closest AO and then have to run out. I would love to go, even though I don't drink coffee, I would love to just hang out and talk to people. But yeah, after I get into pre-running a little bit, that's helped. But I just make a conscious effort to talk to somebody that I don't know as well at the workouts. And then I really enjoy coming up with, for some reason, people ask me about Q ideas. So I'd love being a site Q because like the VQs or, being a site Q of a weight site. And there's only 2 in Omaha. Most people have queued, if they hadn't queued there before, that was probably their first weight Q. So there was a lot of questions about that. And to me, it's easier. You have an accessory. So pick your favorite exercise, just get on the ground, pick up your weight, find a way to do your favorite exercise with your weight. But yeah, I really enjoyed those type of discussions and got to know people. And, been intrigued by COTs and.
Well, and I love, I think there's a lot of guys that are in a similar scenario, right? One reason or another aren't always able to attend coffee. And so, it's pre-runs or maybe even during the workout, right? Where you're still getting opportunity to connect with the guys around you. So I love that you have found that. I'm curious your thoughts with any of the other like second F events or, have you been able to participate in any of those or those? I mean, I'm right there with you having younger kids, so I can guess what your answer is, but
yeah, I can make it to what we call it Fairy Nectar, which is the name of a beer, not even a bar. I go there at Cross Strain because it's near my house, and it's oddly enough, my free time is during the day. So it's Friday and I'm usually asking like, can somebody go at 3? And I might be able to stay for a half an hour or whatever. But there's usually somebody, 1 or 2 guys will show up.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I have tough time getting to the other, normal free time for people outside of. I can do stuff during 8 to 5 because my work schedule, no one really knows what I'm doing anyway.
Yeah.
we don't meet each other in person, and they have no idea what you're doing. So, I do enjoy the third F stuff. I get oddly excited about the blood drives. I brought an FNG to the blood drive.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, it was cool. He ironically had a long-term injury that he got picking up a cinder block. That's the irony. I think he would love our group, but he said he can't hold day-to-day items. And like most guys, he's stubborn to go to the doc. He keeps trying to wait it out, and then he will do some small type of exercise to test it. And it's not.
Did you name him? Did they get a name or no?
No, he didn't. Dang it, we should have done that. It's kind of different there because people are kind of coming and going, and a lot of people are hooked up to bleed or whatever. And but he was fascinated by the group. It was kind of fun to see someone's reaction of how we interact with each other at something like that. And a lot of the guys aren't the guys that you work out with every day. You've maybe heard their name, but it's all of F3 Omaha, not the ones at the closest AOs to you. But that was fun. That third F events have been good for me, good for my second F.
I love that. Tell me about like other, just thinking of the fellowship piece and like Shield Lock or even just sometimes we've got maybe it's a WhatsApp channel or just being able to exchange a text message with guys. Have you been able to engage in any of those things? I know you've got your first respect beat down tomorrow, right?
So I'm going, and Tater kind of, I won't say, I was considering going, but it's a little farther away than I like, so I'll be nervous all night tonight, all day tomorrow. Like, will I get home on time so my wife can get to work at 7? Just because I have to take over so she has time to get herself ready and be out the door by 7. But he said, "Hey, are you going?" And I was like, Yeah, probably. He's like, oh, cool. Then you can be my guest. Then I'll go. And I don't even know why somebody who's not 50 wants to go. I mean, to me, it's kind of like I'm excited to go because I like everybody. But then, yeah, this, my own age bracket. I'm just intrigued because I've never been there. But at the same time, it's like you're admitting the reality that you are old. Yeah, kind of like maybe the first time you claim the senior discount, it'd be like, oh, this is kind of cool, but
Yeah.
I have to be old to get here. So
Yeah.
I know it's bittersweet, I guess. I don't know.
It should be just like a weights workout, right? You're working out with an accessory. It's a cane instead of a weight, right? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. I do giggle about what will happen when we're like 75 years old.
I wondered
Are we
that
going to
too.
meet at First Watch for brunch? Or are we
I
going to
think
be mall
so.
walkers? Too
Yeah.
damn cold out there. I ain't doing that no more.
Hey, brother, we'll still be doing burpees, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it.
You
I
know,
hope, man.
can't
I
can't hold
hope.
me down.
Yes, that's for sure.
What I just because you mentioned a couple times, remind me, how old are your kids?
6 and 9.
Okay.
So my dad would say, "You couldn't figure that out, could you?" Because he wanted grandkids. But yeah, we had my first kid the day. If it was one day later, I'd have been 43.
Okay.
So our birthdays are back to back days. Um, I don't know. It took me a long time to grow up. Well, that's assuming, I don't know, part of me is still not grown up.
Yeah.
I'm a
What
kid, I'm a kid at heart.
what is there anything in that space of sort of maturing or growing up that you feel like you would share part of your story so guys could learn from you?
Yeah, having kids was a big part of growing up for me. And most of my adult life, and a lot of my friends were having kids and stuff. I had a good job for my age and bought a house when I was like 25. And we'd throw these knockdown, drag out, raging parties. Um, we had a couple that we had to move the furniture out of the house because there were so many people. Lost a job over a party once,
Hmm.
wouldn't change it. But that was, I just wanted to not worry about bills and have beer money.
Hmm.
And that was my life for a while. I was happy doing it. I didn't care if I came home until Sunday, on the weekend, Friday night, just I get all excited about that, not knowing what's going to happen over the weekend. But then, yeah, having kids and like really feeling that responsibility to someone other than yourself. I was married for about 10 years before we had kids, but we both kind of did our own thing. I could
Hmm.
no longer throw knockdown, drag out, raging parties.
Yeah.
But it was really the kids that changed my look on, responsibility, that I felt like responsible to do a good job and things like that. But really wasn't challenged to be more of an adult
Wow.
until kids came along. And maybe that's why I subconsciously didn't want to have them for a while.
Hmm.
I love having them, but yeah, it was time to grow up.
Yeah.
I still ring and run and do stupid stuff like that.
Yeah. What
So I don't know if I'll ever grow up to
yeah.
that.
Well, I think it's an interesting thing, right? You think about like reinvigorating male community leadership. And I know along my journey, I have struggled with my ability to have fun, right? And sort of taken myself and just life too seriously. So I think there's room, for it to like life should still be fun, but there's a responsible way.
Yeah.
Maybe that we could be doing that. So anything you would share with maybe younger guys that are in that space of wanting the house and the beer money and the raging parties. I know we have a lot of guys that are not even married yet, or
Yeah. I would say enjoy it. I would say enjoy it while it lasts, for
mm,
one. But still, yeah, try to maybe make some goals for yourself beyond beer money. That would be good. Get yourself financially set. That I was in a position having a house, having roommates. It was a very cheap way to live, and I spent that in a fun way instead
mm,
of I could have been building towards a future. It's not like I was ever hurting, but I could have been really set if I wouldn't have been worried about hot tubs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Extreme fun money, or
Yeah.
sounds like fun to go to Denver this weekend, or whatever it was. We would just money wasn't the number one concern. Just being alive on Monday was my thought, But yeah, I would say like make personal goals in addition to like fitness goals, and maybe I don't know. I just moved my finance to it. He won't mind that I say it on here to John Claude, because I was like, you work hard to save your money, and I never really thought about it. I just kind of put it away.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, maybe that isn't the best idea. This is your retirement. I never really thought about it. And moving it to him, for one, like, somebody that I trust, but then two, like, I actually went and put money into my kid's Nest account today because I saw him this morning and I forgot to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Just seeing him makes me think about my own plan for the future. So that was an intended result, and it did work today, because I don't know, I might have got to do it. Who knows when I would have got around to doing it.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's cool to just have that sort of a little bit of a nudge, just from a guy that you met through F3 and that you trust. Curious if any part of your journey, and obviously share whatever you're comfortable with, but like for me, I could not control, drinking or using, and so then it led me down a certain path. Have you what sort of where are you at today? Are you feel like you've got good control over that stuff? Have you ever struggled with maybe feeling like you were leaning on the edge of addiction, or has that been part of your story? Or
yeah, before, it actually has, and I don't know if I was ever like I love drinking beer, and F3's really helped me with that, give me something else to do. And I don't know if I was ever an alcoholic. I'm just bored. So I would actually drink beer, at the end of the day, and then my wife and kids would come home and said, have another beer or two over dinner, and then they would go to bed pretty early. And I might be up till 1 or 2 in the morning working, which I didn't really mind. I didn't have anything else to do, but drinking beer made it an activity. To me, that could make anything an activity. Like you're working, well, if you're drinking beer, then that made it kind of fun. But I regret it because of what it was doing to my body. I wasn't honest with my wife about it. I was actually I would giggle about how much I could drink as a relatively small guy. I put on weight over time because I do like to eat healthy, but then as soon as a couple beers go down, that flies out the window. Yeah. It all goes downhill in a hurry. But yeah, I'd drink, I could drink 18 beers and be at work the next day.
Yeah.
As a relatively small guy and I thought it was funny for some stupid reason. In an odd way, I'm kind of glad that it happened, because there's so many regrets are also good life lessons to learn to like not do that again. Yeah. But I think one, having to get up I love going to the workout, so having to get up, that's going to be miserable if you drink too much. So yeah, I rarely drink at all anymore. I'll go to that happy hour for F3, have 2. And doesn't take me very long, but then I'll leave because I can put them away in a hurry. But so that's a regret of mine, and I'm very thankful for F3, and honestly, real thankful. Clay, you were the first one that I heard open up about that. To me, it was a huge weight off my shoulders to hear somebody else open up about like, hey, this is something that I've done in the past. This is part of my journey, and I somehow ended up here regardless, But and then you hear other people do it, and you can kind of see it in people. And I think hearing that other people have had similar backgrounds and have made it through is kind of a blessing, and gives you hope, huge weight off your shoulders, realize you're not the only one. Um,
Yeah.
that we all have our reasons. Mine was, my wife would probably say I was an alcoholic. To me, it was just boredom. Just
Yeah.
bored. It got real bad during COVID when I wasn't doing anything. Like I was just working.
Right.
The four walls I'm surrounded by right now. I mean, that F3. That was my day, man. Like,
Well, and I guess I would just say, I mean, I think what we're hearing a lot, I mean, we're out of the pandemic, obviously, but I think that happened to a lot of people. I think there were a lot of people that were just forced into this isolation and all the stress, the uncertainty, the anxiety of what was going on, with COVID. Because I feel like I heard a lot of people that were like, for whatever reason, that's what they gravitated towards. And I think it was partly because we were bored and partly because like everything else was like so hectic, right? And yeah. So I think, yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that. And I think it's just another example of like being around guys that are doing something different, has
yeah,
a tremendous impact. So I think it's really cool story to hear. And I guess, as I'm thinking about just, this journey that you're on, then I'm curious where and maybe how, faith plays a part in that for you. I don't know if you would share just, I don't know if faith was a part of your life growing up or if it's something that you're still sort of working on, but would love to hear that side of things.
yeah. So I'm not a big church guy. My family wasn't. I mean, we would go on occasion. Um, F3 has helped me just, I guess I've seen too many examples of the power of prayer not to believe something happens when we come together, and then you hear the good result that is good. Everything I'm thankful for F3 for is that if you do have a tragedy, I've got a friend that's he's not getting better from all, he's got cancer and it's probably not getting better. That there is a comfort blanket knowing that these people are here for you. And it feels good to be that for somebody else as well. That's comforting to me, and I like being able to provide that comfort to other people. It does make you think, about your life as a whole. I guess that alone has helped me be I feel like I'm a way better person because of F3, just more present around my family and especially my kids. I would love to go on Saturday morning. Sometimes we've gone really early and done, really dumb stuff, like, well, working out wise, like really challenging activities, and then go to the hour-long workout, and then I found myself falling asleep on the floor at noon, like,
Yeah.
and then realizing like I like to do that, but that's not the goal, to not be able to be there for your kids. So that's helped me. But with the third F component of F3 has been a couple of things kind of happened back to back that really changed my view. The first one was I worked on that, or donated to that angel drive, for the presents, the angel tree. And then, so a couple of us met up at Cross Drain. We were having a beer and like getting everybody together. And then we are going to divide up the list and go out shopping. And Gobbler calls the gal saying like, geez, we're going to need more lists or something, because we end up with a lot more money. And, he calls her and he thought he lost the connection. She's like, yeah, right. I don't know what to do. We have like $5,000. And this lady was on the phone and nothing. We thought she was gone or whatever. And then she was just in shock, and you could hear the tears in her eyes, like you could hear it in her voice. And so that's when he made me realize, like, instantly, the strength in numbers that we have.
Yeah.
That one dude doing something nice, you might give a couple $100 or whatever if you go crazy, $1,000, but we donate big sums of money to a lot of good causes that really make an impact. That really felt good to me. I guess the other thing that happened was when they said at work, they said, don't forget to log your volunteer hours. And I was like, I don't think I have any. And I felt like, what a loser. I live a pretty charmed life, I would say. To not do one thing for another person. I mean, that to me was, I wanted to punch myself in the face. That's just felt like feeling awful. So this to me is an outlet because I just kind of forgot about it. Like not having a local, when I worked with a local team, we would go volunteer to paint a house or, help with filling bags or whatever. And then you just kind of don't even think about that when it's not there in front of you until someone says, "What you do to volunteer?" Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Like what a selfish ass. So this to me, I get really excited about the third app, and so thankful for the people that lead that. Like Squeaky and Vandalay, they do an awesome job, and the impact that they've had, on our group and then in the community is insane.
Yeah. I love that. That's such a cool story just to hear, of like the reaction from that lady. And I remember, I feel like I remember seeing pictures of the like 5 or more shopping carts of gifts or whatever it was that we ended up providing for her family. And it's really cool when you think about it. And ultimately, like, we're doing that not because we want people to see us doing it, but we're doing it because there's a need, right? And then we have guys that are willing to help out. So it's really cool to have this group of like genuinely great people, and great guys that all want to help. It's a little bit rare.
Yeah.
What
the passion behind it to me is one of the things that I'm most proud of being a part of F3 for sure.
Yeah. I am curious too, the other thing we always love to hear your perspective on is leadership. And so, you've been in the workforce, in leadership roles, but, obviously in F3, it's a little bit different. So would love to hear like about your VQ, and then also like any, just whatever you would share with us about taking over Steel Mill and finding a successor for that site.
Yeah. So my VQ kind of happened on accident. Well, Animal House was signed up to queue at Danger Zone before he was site queue. And then him and Gobbler, I think we were just jogging from station to station once at a beatdown night. Oh, you should probably VQ. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And Animal House was like, hey, I'm set up to queue here. How about we co-queue? And I was like, okay. And that's about how long it took. And then he's like, hey, how about I just help with like the introductions or something, which I did want to do it by myself. Then, oh man, I've heard other people say this. It was certainly true for me. I don't even know if I slept the night before. The thing that was going through my head though was these guys are getting up before dawn. I want to make sure that they have a good workout. And I still, I guess to this day, I queue next week on Wednesday, and I've got stuff on paper. Like I will always be over prepared, if anything. I'll do every exercise that I will queue, I will have done it in advance. Oftentimes the whole workout, like I'll do it just to make sure that it was worthy. And I know I have this passion in my mind that's like, my job that day, if I'm queuing, is to murder these dudes. Yeah. They want easy, they can stay in bed. They chose hard. So, but I'll always make it, you can modify. I don't like running. Just somebody wants a break, you can stay where you are, just take it. But I don't know why I got that in my head, but to this day, my plan, if somebody shows up, I'm trying to murder you, because I thought, if you don't want challenging, you'd be doing something else. So that's kind of how my VQ happened. The steel mill I was shocked that High Life asked me, it passed before a year from him because he moved. They were moving to Glenwood and he can't physically get back and forth in time for his wife to be at work. So I didn't feel like I was ready. I was so excited about it. But at the same time, I couldn't tell you one thing that happened that flag pass day. I was so nervous, just terrified. I was worried about throwing up just because the nerves. So, and then when it happened, I thought it would be a lot harder job than maybe it is a hard job, and I just loved it. I love every second of it. Absolutely loved it. Yeah, it's hard for me to go to that respect beatdown tomorrow because I want to be there, but I also don't want to be in. I don't know if I am or not. I should ask him. In his way, a Sweet Roll's way. He was, to me. He was. I wanted somebody who posted there all the time, worked hard, but still had fun, and most importantly, you could tell that they liked it as much as they love that site as much as you do.
Yeah.
I mean, Sweet Roll was all those things. It was very hard for me to pass that shovel. Almost, it kind of becomes like part of who you are. That's. I dreaded it. The only thing that made it livable, there was two things. One, Sweet Roll was, I can't believe nobody else gobbled him up to be their site Q. And number two, like he like that to me, he's not just a good site Q, he was the perfect site Q for that site. That he was good for the identity that we have built there. Absolutely perfect fit. So very thankful for him. And the other thing that made sense to me is when I thought about it, like all of a sudden there was like some clarity of the mission of F3, plant, grow, and serve small workout groups for the invigoration of male community leadership. That's part of it. Being your VQ, being a site Q, that's part of it. That's part of our mission. And I guess honestly, in my team at work, I have a small team. We get asked to do all kinds of crazy stuff that I'm thinking like, are we even going to look good if we help this guy with this? Like, what route should we go down? We've actually implemented our own I created it, and then we all had to agree to it, is our own mission statement. And did that because of F3, but that helps whenever someone says, should I work on this? It's short and simple. We start all of our meetings with it, just like we do at F3.
Yeah.
That you look to the mission statement to tell you, should you be doing this or not? And I don't know if we've been doing it a little bit. About a month after we did that, the CEO of our company, there's thousands of people, my little team of 5, might have been coincidence, I don't know, but he told my boss, if we could emulate the passion of that little team across the company, we'd really have something. But I think that has helped. Like, I thought it was stupid. I thought it was dumb. Like at the beginning of when I first came to F3, I thought this is dumb. Like, why do we do this every time? And everything that I didn't get when I first started coming are now my favorite things.
Yeah. There's something about having that mission statement that and then you say it every time, just like, I don't know, it makes it hard to forget. And I think it's something that everybody that's showing up believes in. It's like the guys that don't believe in it, or they tend to not maybe come back, which they'll come back later in life is what I believe. But
that's true.
I am curious too, as you think about, you mentioned Sweet Roll, and you also mentioned leading a sort of a specialty site, right? It's one of two weights AO. So I would be curious, what sort of advice would you have for maybe it's somebody that's leading a weights site or specialty site, or maybe it's a guy who's shown up to a steel mill or a weights AO for the first time. What advice would you give them to be successful?
Don't bring too heavy weights.
No, I've made that mistake.
I started with 20s. Very few people use 20s. Rooney would love it if I gave him credit for using 20s every time. He uses 10s. No, I'm just kidding. Rooney uses them, and G-String uses them. 20s is a lot when you have them in your hands, typically for 45 minutes. You just stood there with those weights in your hands. That's a lot. But yeah, I would say if you want to run, do it before. We don't run much there, unless like swipers on the queue. But most of the guys we don't run. Come with an open mind, and that one for sure is you can get as much work as you want in there. Meaning, like, a little bit of, you can kind of fluff your form and nobody's going to notice anything. But if you want to get after it, you can get an extremely different workout by just the amount of effort you put into it, because you're typically standing right there lifting. but it's fun. If you're scared to queue it, definitely go to the site a couple times before you, at least once before you queue it. Maybe give you an idea of the vibe and what happens. But that's the advice I would give those folks.
Yeah. That's great advice. I think it is. I can vouch for the don't bring too heavy of weights. I think on the launch I brought 30s to one, and that I dropped them the halfway through, and then I did bring 20s on the shovel pass recently, and I was slacking on the form definitely by the end. But I'm curious, as you think about just your life, really your journey and sort of F3, this question from wait time is really like, what's something that you thought was important before F3 and something that you realize is now more important? Anything in that area for you?
Yeah, F3 for me, it used to be, and I heard somebody else mention this on a different one, completely agree with it, that F3 guys, we know different things about each other. You might know that this guy used to have a substance abuse problem or he's afraid of public speaking, but a lot of us don't know what we do for work or what neighborhood you live in. I used to think that stuff was, first or second question. Sometimes I'd know what somebody does before I even knew their name. At least now we know somebody's nickname. Yeah. But I mean, to me, I thought that stuff was important. Now I'm more curious about people's journey. That's if there's one thing it said, like for me, it's needing friendships is why I come back. But one of the most rewarding things to me overall is witnessing a shared journey and seeing people just have a different pep in their step. It really stuck out to me. I was downrange once, so I didn't know anybody. And a guy got out of his car and I was like, he didn't have a water bottle. That wasn't the key. I was like, I bet that's an FNG. Just because of the way he was walking. Like, I was just sitting there doing burpees, waiting for people to show up. But I was like, I bet anything that's an FNG. And it was. But to see the change in people, not just physical, that's great, but you hear people say, I used to be on all these meds. I'm no longer on these meds. I no longer use a sleeping machine. They're a different level of confidence. That being a part, even if it's just a witness part of that journey, is, and we all sharing it together. None of us would have shown up there at 4:45 this morning and go run on your own. Right. The shared journey to me is absolutely priceless. Very thankful for it, and that pushes us all to be. I always come back to that strength in numbers. Anything we do, third F, first F, second F, that is the number. We need each other, but we're real good together. And individuals, we all have maybe our moments that we aren't proud of, but hopefully learn from. And then I'm so thankful for people, again, you're the first one I heard do it. Just admit to, previous mistakes and judgment errors, and I've made them too. But I would argue though that there's substance abuse guys, like they don't care what happens to them working out. Like you think some guy used to, like for me, I don't care if I get injured doing the Apex. I used to drink 18 beers a day like that. I knew that wasn't good for me. At least this has some positive benefit. My only fear about getting injured is I want to come back tomorrow.
Right. Well, and
I don't care what happens.
You made a comment earlier about just being alive, on Monday, right? And when you've come from that mentality, right, where your weekend starts on Tuesday, and I do think there's just this sense of gratitude, right? Like I woke up today, so really nothing is gonna get in my way, and so I agree with you, man. I'm curious too, the other question I would have for you is, as you're just thinking about where you're at today, and just lately with life, what Is there anything you need prayers for, or anything that if we see it, we should be encouraging you about, or anything in that space for you where we could support you more?
No, I guess for me, it's just continuing to make the right decisions, which it's, yeah, I don't like tiptoe off the rail. I'm cannonballing off. You know,
Mm.
if I if I make bad decisions, it's going to happen in a hurry. And this group's been real good for me. Um, Doing that, I would ask for people to try to let go of whatever mental limitation they have on their first staff.
Yeah.
So I think that that's sounds strange, but if you do that, and then the guy next to you sees you do that, and the guy next to him sees it happen, you know, as a group, I think it's in my mind lately because my kid went to a warrior gym over the weekend, and there was it's an 8-year-old birthday party, and none of them could get the warp wall 10
Mm.
foot, but they were all real close. And I was like, you're telling me none of these kids are 15% more athletic than the other one? It's my theory was I was talking with the mom about is I bet if one of them gets it, pretty soon a bunch of them start getting it, that they can make it up to the top of that wall. But you know, I think that we're maybe no different. Why are we always doing 20 push-ups? And why not 30 or 50 or whatever? You know, that get your mind limits out of the way,
Yeah.
and you'll help the next guy do it. And I think as a group we'll be better.
Yeah, I love that. It's almost like whatever you think whatever you've got in your mind that you're going to do, double it, right? And
Yeah.
I always love. I think it's Goggins or one of those guys that says, like, tell yourself you're going to go out and run 3 miles, and then when you're out there and you get to three, then go three more. Like just,
Yeah.
because if you are talking to yourself and you're like, well, I don't want to run 13 miles. Well, tell yourself you're only running three, right? And you like get out the door. Sometimes you just got to get started. And
Yeah.
once you get out there, then yeah, I don't know, but I love that. I do think it'd be interesting. I wonder if our Apex leaders, hopefully they're listening and can maybe there's some studies they can do. It would be really cool to just what if they start telling people like fudging the records a little bit, like
Yeah.
they come out with the real numbers later in the year, but. Anything
Yeah.
else, man? I know you just, I think you've got a really great, strong passion for just what we're trying to do in F3. And I love, you light me up when I'm around you. And so I just appreciate that. I don't know, anything else you feel like that we maybe didn't get a cover or you didn't get a share? I keep staring at this guitar in your background. So I keep
Oh,
asking you about music if you play at all, but.
yeah. I used to play a lot. Now it's the ones. So with my 6-year-old, the ones I like are up on the wall, because otherwise the ones that aren't up on the wall don't have 6 strings on them anymore.
Oh yeah.
But no, I guess, yeah, I'm very passionate about keep giving it away. And at my age, I would say we need to not let our friends get old. Because yeah, some of my friends are at what I would consider, potentially a point of no return. That you better start by walking, buddy. That's I'm terrified of getting to that point myself. Someday it's going to happen, but that starts. It doesn't start when you got to do something before you're at that point. So just keep giving that away. I guess from somebody who has lived some years unhappy with themselves, me. A red flag that I would notice: you got good friends that post Facebook all the time. They're never in a picture. They won't post a picture of themselves. That's red flag, man. That was me. That was a big wake up call for me. Was when I would hope anything in the world would happen before we went to get family photos. Ice storm in June. I didn't want to be in a picture because I hated myself, man.
Yeah.
And that's a lonely time. And I think this group can help people with stuff like that. Both with, and all three of us, they're all important to digging out of a hole.
Yeah.
You got to feel good about yourself physically, have some friendships, realize that other people have walked in these shoes. To me, it's been a huge benefit to hear people that you really look up to and admire say that they've struggled at points in their life, or even something didn't go their way. That to me is like, okay, other people have done this. We can learn from this. You're not the Lone Ranger of something didn't go your way.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a huge weight off my shoulders, keeps me going. It makes me more willing to share my own setbacks in life, and maybe somebody else can learn from my setbacks before they have them happen to them, because I have from other people. I want to give that back.
Yeah. Man, this has been awesome. And I just thank you for being vulnerable and just for sharing your story. And thank you for your continued love of burpees, because it gets lonely sometimes on Burpee Island. So I know there's at least one guy I can always reach out to.
Yes.
Hey, you want to do this burpee challenge? So I appreciate you, man. Let's
you too. I'll always be down.
We'll do a little name-orama here.
All right.
Start us off. Brandon Flehardy, 37, The Plague.
The Plague. Aaron Thomas, 51, Duracell.
Duracell, respect. And is there like the Energizer Bunny, or I guess that's the Energizer, not Duracell, so it wouldn't work.
Yeah, I have zero callback whatsoever.
Yeah,
never had one. I don't know.
You got room for the respect now, then. You don't have to worry about. Yeah.
It is tough if a guy has both respect and a callback. It's like Mr. Hankey, that one's tough. He's got both.
Hey man, this is great, and just thank you. Thanks for being you, and for your friendship and your leadership.
Thank you. Really appreciate the time and the opportunity to be on here. Great seeing you.
You too, man. Have a good day.
You too. All right. Bye.